Stop. Not a sound. This is the moment where the air itself leans in because something irreversible already happened. And you felt it before they did. You remember it, don't you? That exact second when their eyes changed. Not anger, not fear. Something worse, disorientation. Because the instant they realized you're a genius, their personality didn't get challenged. It collapsed, quietly, internally. Like a building discovering gravity for the first time. See, you didn't beat them the way idiots win. Loud, sloppy, desperate for applause. You didn't prove anything with speeches or flexes or begging to be seen. You just moved, clean, precise. A decision so correct, it made their entire self-image glitch. And that's when the damage started. Not to their plans, to their identity. Because people can tolerate losing to monsters. They can rationalize losing to tyrants, bullies, villains. But losing to you? That's different. You're the paradox, calm but dangerous, kind but unreadable, silent but devastating. The kind of mind that doesn't announce itself, just rearranges the room and leaves everyone else wondering why the walls don't feel familiar anymore. The moment they clocked your intelligence, something inside them screamed, "This doesn't fit my story." And when a fragile personality meets a reality, it can't explain. It doesn't adapt. It fractures. They started replaying every interaction with you, every joke they made, every time they underestimated you, every time they spoke down to you like you were harmless. Suddenly those memories feel poisoned. Suddenly you aren't just you anymore. You're a mirror they can't look into without seeing how shallow they've been living. That's when the collapse begins. Watch closely. They don't confront you. They don't challenge you directly. No. People only attack head-on when they think they can win. When they realize you're a genius, they switch tactics. They rewrite reality to survive the humiliation. They tell themselves you're lucky, obsessed, too intense, probably unstable. Anything to avoid the one conclusion that would annihilate them, that you're operating on a level they can't even map. This is where your power actually comes from, not from intelligence alone, but from what intelligence does to fragile egos. You see, genius isn't just about being smart. It's about unpredictability, about seeing patterns they don't even know exist, about moving through chaos like you were built there. You learned to think in the dark. You sharpened your perception in silence. While they were busy performing personalities, you were studying structure. That's why your growth looks unnatural to them. That's why your calm terrifies them. Because you didn't become this by accident. You were forged here. Pain taught you compression. Betrayal taught you observation. Isolation taught you strategy. You didn't break when life turned cruel. You learned its language. And here's the sick, beautiful part they'll never admit. A part of them knows you earned this. That's what really breaks them. Because if your intelligence came from suffering, discipline, restraint, and evolution, then their comfort, their shortcuts, their borrowed confidence suddenly looked cheap, hollow, unprotected. And now they're standing in front of someone who walked through hell and came back mentally armored. So their personality does what weak systems always do under pressure. It collapses inward. They start contradicting themselves, acting erratic, over-explaining, underperforming. Their confidence flickers because it was never rooted in depth, only comparison. And you just removed yourself from the comparison game entirely. You didn't outshine them, you outgrew the scale. That's why they obsess in secret, why your name shows up in conversations you're not in, why your silence feels louder than their noise. Because once someone realizes you're a genius, they can't unknow it. And every time they see you move with restraint, every time you don't react, every time you let chaos pass without flinching, it reinforces the truth they're trying to suppress. You became the living proof that intelligence paired with emotional control is unstoppable. You're the saint who learned to think like a psychopath when survival demanded it. The angel who understands demons better than demons understand themselves. The mind that doesn't chase power because it attracts it. And they feel that. That's why they malfunction around you. That's why their jokes miss. Their confidence slips. Their persona glitches. You didn't attack them. You simply existed accurately, and accuracy is lethal to illusion. So don't shrink. Don't soften. Don't explain yourself to make them comfortable again. That comfort was built on a lie anyway. Let them collapse. Let the old dynamics die. Let their personalities shed like cheap skin. Because you didn't become a genius to be understood. You became one because pain demanded evolution, and you answered. And now the room knows it. They know it. Even if they'll never say it out loud. Good. Stay right here, because this part is where it gets dangerous for them. Once their personality collapses, they don't rebuild stronger. That's a myth weak people tell themselves. They rebuild defensively, smaller, narrower, more brittle. Because now everything they do has one invisible goal: protect themselves from you. Watch the shift. It's subtle, but it's there. Their laughter gets forced. Their confidence turns theatrical. They suddenly need witnesses, validation, noise. Because silence is where your presence lives, and silence reminds them that you didn't need approval to evolve. You did something unforgivable in their world. You stayed calm while they unraveled. That calm, that's not peace. That's containment. That's a mind that's already fought wars internally and learned when to conserve energy. You don't rush. You don't flinch. You don't overreact. And that terrifies them, because every reaction they have is emotional, impulsive, self-soothing. Yours is calculated, measured, surgical. They start second-guessing every move around you, not because you threaten them openly, but because they can't predict you. And unpredictability backed by intelligence feels like standing next to a loaded weapon with no safety. You don't posture, you don't warn, you just understand. That's the real fracture point. See, people don't collapse when they meet someone smarter. They collapse when they meet someone who sees through them effortlessly. You don't just read rooms, you read motives. You don't just hear words. You hear insecurity leaking through tone, timing, hesitation. You see the child behind the mask, the fear behind the bravado, the hunger behind the arrogance. And you never announce it. That restraint is what makes you lethal. They keep waiting for you to expose them, to humiliate them, to flex. But you don't. You let them expose themselves. You let them talk. You let them perform. You let their contradictions stack up until the illusion collapses under its own weight. And all the while, you're just watching. This is where the paradox hits them hardest. You're not cruel, but you're not merciful either. You're precise. You don't punish. You allow consequences. You don't destroy. You remove support and let gravity do the work. That's why they can't categorize you. You don't fit their moral binaries. You're not a hero, not a villain. You're something worse for them, someone who understands both sides and isn't owned by either. You can be warm without being weak, cold without being empty, kind without being controllable. You learned balance in hell, and hell taught you something most people never learn. Suffering isn't meant to break you. It's meant to compress you into clarity. Every betrayal refined your perception. Every loss sharpened your instincts. Every lonely stretch trained you to rely on internal structure instead of external reassurance. So when they finally realized you're a genius, it wasn't admiration they felt. It was threat detection. Their nervous system picked up on it before their ego could translate it. Something in you doesn't seek dominance, but it renders dominance irrelevant. And that's catastrophic for personalities built on hierarchy, comparison, and validation. They start projecting, calling you arrogant while you stay silent, calling you manipulative while they scramble, calling you dangerous while you do nothing. Because if they can label you, they can reduce you. If they can reduce you, they can survive you. But here's the problem. You're not playing the same game. You stopped needing to win a long time ago. You moved beyond reaction, beyond approval, beyond proving yourself. You operate on alignment now. Actions matching internal truth. And alignment is terrifying because it doesn't bend under pressure. You don't rise emotionally when they panic. You don't shrink when they posture. You don't explain when they accuse. You just remain, stable, observant, untouched. And that's when they realize the final soul-crushing truth. They can't control you because you already control yourself. That's the difference between intelligence and genius. Intelligence solves problems. Genius changes the environment. Your presence alters dynamics. Your silence rewires conversations. Your restraint forces people to confront themselves. You don't chase power. Power follows pattern, and you understand. So let them spiral. Let them rewrite stories. Let them cling to narratives where they're still the center. Because deep down, they know the moment they realized you're a genius was the moment their old identity died. They just haven't found the courage to admit it yet. And you don't need them to. You're already moving ahead, quietly, deliberately, while they're still trying to patch together a version of themselves that can exist in a world where you see everything. And here's where it goes from uncomfortable to irreversible. Because once someone's personality collapses in the presence of a mind like yours, they never go back to who they were before. They can pretend, they can perform, they can put on upgraded masks, but the internal damage is permanent. A crack has formed in the story they told themselves about who they are. And every time they see you, that crack whispers. You become a reference point they didn't consent to. They start measuring themselves against you without wanting to. They catch themselves thinking, what would he see here? Would he notice this? Did he already know? And that thought alone is humiliating. Because genius doesn't just outperform, it haunts. It lives rent-free in the subconscious, questioning every decision they make afterward. That's why they become erratic. One moment overly friendly, next moment distant. One day praising you, next day subtly undermining you. They're not being fake, they're being unstable. Their inner hierarchy is scrambled. Their ego no longer knows where it stands. You didn't dominate them, you out-evolved them. And evolution is violent to those who never had to adapt. You see, most people build personalities the way children build sandcastles, soft, decorative, dependent on calm conditions. Praise keeps it intact. Familiarity keeps it standing. Comfort keeps it untested. But you built your mind under pressure, under scarcity, under silence, under betrayal. Your structure isn't decorative, it's load-bearing. So when chaos enters the room, you don't panic, you don't posture, you don't scramble for control. You lean back and observe, because chaos is where your thinking gets sharper. And they feel that difference so instantly. Their nervous system clocks it. Something in you is comfortable where they disintegrate. That's when the saint-psychopath paradox fully activates. You can be compassionate and ruthless without contradiction. You understand pain because you lived it, but you don't let it make decisions for you anymore. You can listen without absorbing. You can see suffering without drowning in it. You can walk away without needing the last word. That balance breaks people. Because most personalities are built on extremes, all light or all dark, all kindness or all cruelty, all emotion or all logic. But you learned to integrate. You learned when to soften and when to sharpen, when to feel and when to calculate, when to give grace and when to withdraw oxygen. You don't lash out, you withhold access. And access was the drug they didn't realize they were addicted to. They were used to being able to provoke reactions, to trigger insecurity, to dominate conversations, to feel important by comparison. But with you, none of it works. You don't bite, you don't chase, you don't react on cue, and suddenly their old tools feel useless in their hands. That's when resentment forms. Not loud resentment, not obvious hatred, quiet resentment. The kind that pretends to be indifference. The kind that says, I don't care, while checking your movements, your progress, your trajectory. The kind that needs to believe you're flawed because accepting your clarity would require them to confront their own confusion. They start searching for cracks in you, for scandals, for emotional leaks, for moments of weakness. But what they find instead is restraint, consistency, depth. You're not perfect, but you're coherent. And coherence is terrifying in a fragmented world. You don't contradict yourself under pressure. You don't abandon your values when it's inconvenient. You don't need to reinvent your personality every room you enter. You know who you are, and that's the final blow to their psyche. Because a personality collapse isn't about losing status, it's about losing orientation. They don't know how to position themselves around you anymore. Above you feels delusional, beside you feels exposed, below you feels humiliating. So they oscillate, they glitch, they burn energy just trying to stabilize. Meanwhile, you conserve. You move with patience because you understand timing. You speak when it matters. You stay silent when it's strategic. You don't rush outcomes because you know momentum favors those who can wait without rotting. You've already survived the worst part of the story. That's why their panic looks loud and your calm looks heavy. That's why they mistake your stillness for arrogance and your focus for threat. That's why they say you've changed, when in reality you've just shed what was never you. You didn't become colder, you became clearer. You didn't become darker, you became more honest. You didn't lose empathy, you learned boundaries, and boundaries are devastating to people who relied on your confusion. So let them collapse, let them spiral, let them talk themselves into knots, trying to explain you away. Let them build narratives where you're the problem, the anomaly, the disruption, because deep down, they already know the truth they'll never say out loud. The moment they realized you're a genius wasn't the moment you rose. It was the moment they fell. And you didn't even push. And that's the part that keeps them awake. Because there was no villain move they could point to, no obvious betrayal, no dramatic confrontation, no moment where they can say, that's where he crossed the line. There's just this quiet before and after split in their memory. Life before they saw you clearly, and life after they couldn't unsee it. After is where the damage lives. After is where every conversation feels staged. After is where their confidence needs rehearsal. After is where they start scanning rooms for threats that don't exist, except you do. Not as an aggressor, as a constant, as a variable they can't eliminate or predict. You became a psychological landmark. And landmarks don't move. People move around them. They start censoring themselves in your presence, catching thoughts mid-sentence, editing opinions, softening claims. Because something in you doesn't argue. It evaluates. And being evaluated by a mind like yours feels like standing naked in front of an X-ray. No theatrics, no drama, just quiet comprehension. You're not impressed easily. You're not intimidated easily. You're not fooled easily. That combination is lethal. So they overcompensate. They talk louder. They name drop. They exaggerate achievements. They turn small wins into mythology. Because deep down, they know the truth. If you ever bothered to apply your full attention to them, the illusion wouldn't survive 5 minutes. And you don't even need to do that. Your power isn't effort. It's presence. You learned long ago that the most dangerous people in the room aren't the loudest. They're the ones who don't need to announce themselves. The ones who let others reveal patterns. The ones who understand that information always leaks if you give it time. The ones who know patience is not passivity, it's positioning. That's why their personalities keep collapsing in layers. First layer, denial. They tell themselves you're not that smart, that you just got lucky, that it won't last. Second layer, comparison. They measure themselves against you and quietly lose again and again until comparison becomes unbearable. Third layer, distortion. They twist your traits into flaws. Your calm becomes arrogance. Your silence becomes manipulation. Your discipline becomes obsession. Final layer, obsession. They can't stop thinking about you, not because they admire you, but because you destabilized the hierarchy that kept them comfortable. And here's the brutal irony they'll never admit. You never wanted their position. You never wanted their approval. You never wanted to replace them. You were busy becoming yourself, and that's what destroyed them. Because when someone fully occupies their own identity, it exposes how many others are just borrowing one. You didn't steal their spotlight. You revealed it was fragile. You didn't outplay them socially. You outgrew the game entirely. And once that happens, there's no recovery, only adaptation or collapse. Most choose collapse. They shrink. They simplify. They cling to safe narratives. They avoid growth because growth would require admitting you were right all along. About discipline, about restraint, about seeing things early, about playing the long game. And that admission would annihilate the old version of themselves they're desperately trying to preserve. You, on the other hand, already let old versions of yourself die. That's the difference. You know how to mourn an identity and move forward. You've done it before. You've burned skins, shed illusions, walked away from versions of yourself that no longer served survival. So when evolution demanded sacrifice, you didn't resist, you cooperated. That's why you feel dangerous now, not wild, not chaotic, grounded. You don't chase chaos, you command it by understanding it. You don't seek validation, you generate gravity. You don't need to dominate, you redefine the frame. And that's what finally breaks them, not your intelligence, not your confidence, not your success, but the realization that you're no longer reactive, that you're no longer accessible through emotional buttons, that you can't be baited into proving anything. They can't control you because you don't need them to see you. You already see yourself, so let them keep collapsing in slow motion. Let them rebuild weaker versions of themselves around coping mechanisms and excuses. Let them whisper, speculate, project. None of it reaches you anymore. You're operating on a different frequency now, one shaped by pain, refined by silence, and stabilized by self-mastery. And the truth is simple, even if it terrifies them. The moment they realized you're a genius wasn't a moment of recognition. It was a point of no return. Because once a mind like yours steps into the room fully formed, everyone else has to confront whether they're evolving or just pretending. And most people can't survive that question. Stop breathing for a second. Not because I asked nicely, because something in you just felt the air change. Yeah, that's it. That pressure in your chest, that silence that suddenly feels loud. That's the sound of every room you were never supposed to survive going quiet at the same time. Who the hell thought you were stoppable? No, don't answer. They already tried. Committees, councils, inner circles with candles and rules and old names, whispered like passwords. Lodges built on certainty. Rooms designed to decide outcomes before outcomes happened. They sat there, confident, comfortable, bored. And then you moved, and the room froze. You didn't kick the door in like a barbarian. You didn't announce yourself like a hero. You didn't glow. You didn't preach. You didn't beg to be believed. You adapted. You learned how to be small without being weak, quiet without being absent, gentle without being harmless. You let them mistake your patience for permission. That was their first fatal error. They thought light looks like innocence. They thought darkness looks like madness. They never considered the possibility that both could live in the same spine, that a saint could learn from a psychopath, that an angel could memorize the architecture of hell and still choose when to smile. You did. Every scar they handed you became a language. Every betrayal taught you timing. Every moment they tried to collapse, you only taught you where not to stand next time. You didn't evolve like they expected, slow, linear, predictable. You evolved sideways, erratically, unclassifiable. That's what scares them. See, systems are built to stop threats they can name: rebel, criminal, loser, genius, monster, savior. Pick one, label it, neutralize it. But you refused the label. You slipped between definitions, too composed to be dismissed, too unpredictable to be managed, too self-aware to be manipulated, too calm to be provoked. They can't agree on what you are anymore. And when the Watchers can't agree, the Watchers stop talking. That's the silence you're feeling now. Those lodges, the ones that used to hum with strategy and certainty, they're not chanting, they're not plotting, they're reviewing footage, replaying moments, asking questions that make people uncomfortable. When did it start? Did we miss something? Was this preventable? That last one hurts the most, because deep down, they know the truth. It wasn't preventable, it was inevitable. You were forged in pressure they wouldn't last 10 minutes inside. You learned to make decisions while bleeding internally. You learned to trust your instincts after everyone else proved unreliable. You learned that morality without power is decoration, and power without morality is chaos. So you built something else, a moving balance, a controlled contradiction, a mind that can love deeply and cut cleanly, a presence that can soothe a room or destabilize it just by existing. You don't need to dominate to dominate. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need permission to proceed. That's why the rooms went quiet. They expected rage. You brought restraint. They expected collapse. You brought structure. They expected revenge. You brought precision. That's not cinematic. That's terrifying. Because rage burns out. Precision rewrites hierarchies. And now they're stuck with a problem they can't solve out loud. Because if they admit you're unstoppable, they admit their systems failed. If they deny it, they risk underestimating you again. So they do what institutions always do. When faced with something superior and undefined, they pause, they wait, they hope time fixes it. But time has always been your weapon. You don't rush outcomes. You outlast resistance. You let people exhaust themselves trying to understand you, while you're already 3 steps ahead, watching patterns repeat like a joke you've already heard. You learned that unpredictability isn't chaos. It's freedom. It means no one can build a cage fast enough. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. They don't fear what you've done. They fear what you've become. Someone who can walk into darkness without losing their reflection. Someone who understands rules well enough to break them cleanly. Someone who can sit at the table or flip it and look calm either way. Someone who doesn't need validation because survival already proved the point. You're not the villain they can unite against. You're not the hero they can co-opt. You're the variable they forgot to account for. And variables don't ask for permission, so let the silence spread. Let the rooms stay quiet. Let the watchers whisper instead of declare. Every second they hesitate, you're consolidating. Every doubt they suppress sharpens your edge. Every unanswered question works in your favor. They thought you were stoppable because they mistook your humanity for fragility. They didn't realize it was the source of your adaptability. Your empathy sharpened your perception. Your pain refined your judgment. Your darkness gave your light credibility. You're not balanced. You're integrated. And that's why no one knows how to move against you anymore. Because the moment they do, they have to admit the truth they've been avoiding since the silence began. They weren't protecting the world from you. They were protecting themselves from what happens when someone like you stops asking for permission to exist. Stay still, stay sharp, stay unpredictable. The lodges are silent for a reason. Good. Stay with that silence for a moment longer, because silence isn't empty. Silence is what happens when certainty dies. They're sitting there right now, you know that? Same chairs, same symbols on the walls, same rituals they swear still matter. But something is off. The air doesn't obey them anymore. Their words don't land the way they used to. Authority feels brittle, like glass pretending to be steel, and it all traces back to you. They keep asking the wrong question. They keep asking how you did it, how you slipped past safeguards, how you survived pressures designed to crush bloodlines, how you kept moving when logic said you should have folded. They replay moments, freeze frames, timelines, psychological profiles. They look for the glitch, but you were never a glitch. You were the upgrade they didn't authorize. See, they believe power announces itself, that it comes with uniforms, titles, endorsements, applause. They believe dominance needs witnesses, that legitimacy requires permission. So when you didn't arrive with noise, they assumed you weren't arriving at all. Another fatal error. You came in through endurance, through pattern recognition, through the quiet mastery of yourself, while everyone else outsourced their thinking to rules and traditions. You learned how to sit with discomfort until it talked. You learned how to watch people long enough that they revealed their scripts. You learned that most powerful figures are just terrified of losing the room. You learned how to be the room. That's why conversations stall when your name comes up. That's why agendas suddenly get revised. That's why alliances hesitate before making moves that used to feel automatic. You introduced uncertainty into places that survived on repetition. You didn't challenge the throne. You exposed the fact that it was bolted to habit, not inevitability. And now everyone feels it. The ones who hated you are confused. because hatred requires superiority, and they're no longer sure they have it. The ones who underestimated you are embarrassed because their confidence now looks reckless in hindsight. The ones who secretly admired you are terrified because admiration turns into fear when it realizes it backed the wrong horse publicly. You broke the emotional math. They don't know whether to attack you, recruit you, discredit you, or pretend you don't exist. Each option comes with consequences they can't fully predict. And institutions hate nothing more than outcomes they can't model. That's where you live now, in the unmodelable. You've become proof that pain doesn't have to make you small, that trauma doesn't have to turn you feral or fragile, that discipline forged in darkness can outperform entitlement raised in comfort. You didn't become ruthless, you became accurate. You don't lash out, you choose. You don't react, you wait. And waiting terrifies people who need momentum to feel powerful. They used to believe time was on their side, legacy, continuity, inheritance. They assumed you'd age out, burn out, give up, sell out, soften. They assumed the world would sand you down like it sands everyone else. But you didn't sand down. You hardened selectively. You kept your curiosity, your humor, your empathy. But you stopped bleeding in public. You stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped negotiating with forces that only respect leverage. That shift, that's the moment the lodges went silent. Because silence is what happens when predators realize they're no longer hunting prey. They're circling something that might turn around. And you feel it, don't you? That strange calm that shows up after chaos stops working on you. That clarity that comes when fear finally runs out of threats. You're not driven by rage anymore. You're not fueled by revenge fantasies or validation hunger. You're fueled by knowing how people move, knowing how systems bend before they break, knowing when to advance and when to let entropy do the work for you. You understand now that the most dangerous thing in any hierarchy isn't rebellion. It's competence without allegiance. That's you. You didn't swear loyalty to their narratives. You didn't internalize their limits. You didn't accept their definitions of success, sanity, or worth. You learned to stand in contradiction without collapsing, to hold mercy and menace in the same hand, and decide which one the moment deserves. That kind of person can't be controlled. So they stall, they delay, they whisper, they hope you reveal yourself as something simpler, something they've handled before. They wait for a scandal, a breakdown, a mistake big enough to reassert their worldview. But you don't need to rush them, because the silence is already an admission. It's the sound of people realizing the game they mastered is no longer the only one being played. It's the sound of strategies aging out, of rituals losing effect, of power discovering it's no longer the apex predator in the ecosystem. You didn't destroy them, you outgrew them. And that's worse, because destruction creates martyrs and narratives. Outgrowing leaves nothing to fight, just irrelevance. Just the slow horror of watching influence evaporate while you remain solid, adaptive, unbothered. So stay exactly where you are, calm, observant, unclassifiable. Let the silence stretch. Let them fill it with their own fear. Every unanswered question sharpens your edge. Every delayed decision widens the gap. They thought you were stoppable because they only understood force. They didn't account for evolution. And evolution doesn't knock. It replaces. And here's the part they really don't want to face, because it dismantles the last illusion they cling to. You didn't become this by accident. Every phase they called a setback was actually calibration. Every exile sharpened your internal compass. Every moment you were isolated forced you to learn how to self-regulate, self-validate, self-direct. You became dangerous not because you wanted power, but because you learned how to function without it being handed to you. That terrifies hierarchies. They rely on hunger, on insecurity, on people needing approval, needing access, needing permission. You starved those dependencies out of yourself. You learned how to sit alone without decaying. You learned how to endure boredom, silence, doubt, and suspicion without imploding. You learned how to let misunderstandings stand while truth worked in the background. Most people collapse when misunderstood. You refined yourself there. That's why their psychological tools don't work on you anymore. Shame slides off. Fear doesn't anchor. Praise doesn't intoxicate. Threats don't rush your pulse. You're not numb. You're regulated. You're not detached. You're precise. You feel everything, but nothing owns you. They can't provoke a reaction because you already processed the wound. And now they're dealing with the worst kind of opponent. Someone who understands both sides of the equation. You know what it's like to be powerless. You know what it's like to be underestimated. And you know exactly how people behave when they think they're in control. You've seen their tells. You've watched how confidence dissolves when plans stall, how moral language appears only after leverage fails, how loyalty becomes conditional when outcomes get uncertain. You've seen how quickly principles turn into strategies when pressure mounts. So when they look at you now, they don't see chaos, they see exposure. You're walking proof that their systems don't produce the strongest humans. Pressure does. That comfort breeds compliance, not capability. That the people they sidelined, mocked, delayed, and tested were the ones secretly developing range, depth, and autonomy. You're not impressive because you won. You're impressive because you didn't break when losing was prolonged. That's the kind of person history doesn't know what to do with at first. So the silence continues. Meetings end early. Conversations trail off. Decisions get postponed. The loudest voices suddenly sound cautious. The ones who used to dominate rooms now double-check their phrasing. Because somewhere deep down, a collective intuition is whispering the same uncomfortable truth. You're not reacting to the game anymore. You're operating outside it. You don't chase outcomes. You shape conditions. You don't argue narratives. You let reality outperform them. You don't seek revenge. You build positioning so clean that revenge becomes irrelevant. And here's the paradox they can't resolve. You're calm, and that scares them more than rage ever could. Rage can be baited. Calm can't. Rage burns fast. Calm outlasts. Rage wants witnesses. Calm doesn't need them. Rage exposes intent. Calm hides timing. You learned timing. You learned when to disappear and when to re-enter, when to speak and when silence does more damage, when to advance and when letting others self-destruct is the most efficient path forward. That's not madness, that's mastery. So let them sit with it. Let the lodges remain quiet. Let the watchers argue in private. Let the architects of control realize too late that the thing they feared most wasn't rebellion. It was someone who learned how to think independently under pressure. You didn't become unstoppable by trying to be unstoppable. You became unstoppable by refusing to collapse. And now you exist as a living contradiction to everything they taught, everything they promised, everything they said was the only way. You're not proof that they were wrong. You're proof that they were limited. That's why the silence isn't lifting. Because once a system realizes it can't contain, coerce, or define someone, it has only one option left. It waits and hopes you don't decide to move next. Stay aware, stay adaptive, stay unreadable. The silence isn't peace, it's respect disguised as fear. And you earned every second of it. And understand this, what you're standing inside right now isn't a pause. It's a recalibration forced by your existence. They're not silent because they're calm. They're silent because every move they used to trust now feels compromised. Old playbooks suddenly look childish. Strategies that worked for decades feel exposed under a new kind of scrutiny. Yours. You didn't attack their walls. You changed the terrain so walls stopped mattering. You made certainty expensive. That's the real crime, not defiance, not disruption. You made confidence cost something. You made arrogance risky. You forced people who thrived on inherited authority to confront earned competence. And they hate that comparison because they lose it. They can't intimidate you because you've already lived under pressure worse than their threats. They can't seduce you because you learned early that comfort is often a leash. They can't shame you because you survived being misjudged long enough to stop outsourcing your worth. You became sovereign internally. And sovereignty is contagious. That's another reason the rooms went quiet. They're not just watching you. They're watching how others respond to you, how people subtly adjust when you enter the frame, how attention shifts, how deference moves without instruction, how silence follows not because you demand it, but because people instinctively listen. Power recognizes power, even when it doesn't want to. You didn't announce dominance. You embodied coherence. Your words match your posture. Your decisions align with your values. Your patience signals capacity, not hesitation. People feel that alignment subconsciously, and it disarms them. Because nothing confuses manipulators more than someone who can't be rushed, baited, or fractured. You don't leak intention. You don't perform insecurity. You don't explain your strength. That makes you unreadable to those who rely on prediction, and now they're facing a dilemma they weren't trained for. If they move against you openly, they reveal fear. If they try to absorb you, they risk losing control. If they ignore you, you continue to grow unopposed. Every option carries loss. Every delay increases your leverage. So they hesitate. And hesitation in power structures is decay. You feel it when systems slow down, when rules become flexible only for survival, when exceptions stack until the framework no longer holds. You didn't break anything. You simply existed long enough, strong enough, consistently enough that the contradictions started showing. You became a mirror they couldn't shatter. Because you've already looked at your own shadow and didn't flinch. You faced the parts of yourself they pretend don't exist. The anger, the doubt, the hunger, the capacity for cruelty. And you didn't let it drive. You integrated it. You harnessed it. You turned it into discernment instead of destruction. That's the angel and the demon learning to share a nervous system. Most people pick a side and call it virtue. You built a synthesis and called it survival. That's why they miscalculated you. They assumed morality would weaken you, or that darkness would corrupt you. They never considered the possibility that ethics could sharpen strategy, and that shadow could provide clarity instead of chaos. You proved them wrong quietly, and now the silence is full of consequences. People are reconsidering alliances, questioning mentors, reevaluating narratives they swallowed because it was easier than thinking. You don't even have to speak for this to happen. Your trajectory does the talking. Your refusal to crumble rewrites expectations. You are evidence that resilience isn't loud, that power doesn't need theatrics, that evolution doesn't ask permission. They thought you were stoppable because they only understand force applied from the outside. They didn't understand what happens when someone builds strength from the inside out. layer by layer, scar by scar, choice by choice. You're not fueled by fantasy anymore. You're fueled by pattern recognition. You see cycles before they close. You sense shifts before they announce themselves. You trust timing more than impulse. A quiet, razor-thin whisper slices through the dark around you. Turn around, slowly. Not a threat, a revelation, because the moment you pivot, the world is already holding its breath, and you, the one they tried to erase, stand here like a contradiction with a pulse. You felt it, didn't you? That sudden silence in the air, that shift in the algorithm, that static crawling up your spine like cold fingertips dragging across a tomb. That's when you knew they just ran Black Velvet Protocol on you. And sweetheart, the last person who got flagged for that, he didn't come back as a person. He came back as a classified footnote. See, that protocol isn't for mortals. It's reserved for anomalies, glitches, things the system can't predict, dissect, or domesticate. It's what they trigger when something slips out of their control. You. And here's the part they'll never admit out loud. The moment they ran that protocol, the moment those red lights started blinking, those encrypted channels began screaming. They knew something you still haven't accepted yet. You don't fit inside their reality. You distort it. Tell me, did you notice how fast their confidence evaporated? 1 minute they're laughing, mocking, doubting, gossiping. Next minute, they're pale, stuttering, hands shaking like they just saw an angel climb out of a grave. That's the duality of you, isn't it? Light wrapped in shadow, a saint wired like a psychopath, an angel with a scarred grin. Every version of you contradicts the one before it, and that's why they can't calculate you, because you don't operate on human code. You operate on absence. You move like fog. You vanish like a rumor. You appear like a prophecy. They don't fear your actions. They fear your potential, your unpredictability, your silent understanding of how fragile their little reality truly is. You walk through a world full of masks, and you're the only one who knows how to peel them off. So when that protocol activated, when the satellites shifted, when the quiet men in long coats tightened their formation, when the system whispered, "Contain him," do you know what they were really saying? He has evolved. They didn't run Black Velvet because you did something wrong. They ran it because you did something impossible. Because you crossed a threshold most people never even know exists. Because you broke out of the prison without touching the bars. And tell me, what exactly did they think was going to happen when someone like you woke up? A being forged in pain, yet drenched in grace. A contradiction sharpened into a blade. A walking paradox who survived storms that were meant to end you. A creature who can sink into darkness without drowning and come out with light clenched between your teeth. You terrify them because you don't react. You don't panic. You don't flinch. You simply notice. You calculate. You adapt. You transform. Black Velvet Protocol wasn't an attack. It was an admission. An admission that you operate on a frequency they cannot jam. An admission that your presence distorts their entire equilibrium. An admission that you've stepped beyond their reach. And now they're scrambling to understand a creature they can't classify. Because how do you categorize someone who's been both heaven's orphan and hell's prodigy? How do you predict someone who healed by becoming dangerous and became dangerous by learning how to stay calm? You don't. You fear them. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Every scream, every whisper, every tremor. They're all saying the same thing. He shouldn't be here. He shouldn't know this. He shouldn't have survived, but you did. You survived the fire meant to vaporize you. You outgrew the version they designed. You mutated past their expectations. You stepped outside the simulation and started rearranging the code. You are the ghost that refuses to fade, the shadow that doesn't follow the body, the anomaly that teaches the rules to kneel. That's why they're trembling. Because black velvet wasn't the end of you. It was the beginning. The moment the world realized you're not coming back, you're coming through. And when you do, every demon, every doubter, every hidden hand behind the curtain, they'll fold faster than the last guy ever did. Because unlike him, you were built for this. A thin pulse of silence hits the room, heavy, electric, loaded. And before you even inhale again, the world around you feels like it's holding its ribs, afraid you might snap reality in half just by breathing wrong. Because when they triggered Black Velvet Protocol on you, they didn't just push a button, they opened a door they were never supposed to touch, a door with warnings carved into the steel. Warnings written in languages older than their institutions, older than their governments, older than their precious little systems built on fear and obedience. And now they're staring at you, the one who walked through that door without blinking, like someone who's been there before, like someone who remembers something they spent billions trying to bury. You feel it, don't you? That strange clarity in your bones, that razor-precise stillness in your mind, that eerie calm, the kind only people who've died metaphorically and came back selectively possess. That's why they're terrified, because Black Velvet Protocol doesn't target the weak. It targets the unpredictable, the undefeated, the ungovernable, the ones who move different, think different, break different, heal different, the ones who come back from hell with souvenirs. And darling, you brought back an entire library of forbidden knowledge. You've been walking through life like you've been playing dumb, like you don't notice the little glitches around you, the déjà vu with teeth, the way people freeze for a millisecond when you talk, the way tension follows you like a second shadow, the way some people look at you like they've seen a ghost wearing your face. That isn't paranoia, that's recognition. See, once Black Velvet locks onto you, you become a classified frequency, not a person, not a file, not even a threat, a phenomenon, something they observe from behind double-glass rooms with headphones on and hands trembling, because they don't understand the physics of you. They don't understand why you survived what shredded everyone else. They don't understand why you're calm when their data says you should be broken. They don't understand why pain sculpted you instead of erasing you. They don't understand why every time they think you've reached your limit, you break another ceiling and walk out like the ceiling was the joke. You carry contradictions in your bloodstream, light so pure it hurts, darkness so deep it thinks. And that blend, that beautiful, terrifying symmetry of angelic rage and demonic grace, it creates something that protocol was never designed to handle. A mind that can't be mapped, a soul that can't be profiled, a presence that can't be erased. They ran Black Velvet on you because they needed to contain the unknown. But how do you contain something that refuses form? How do you stop something that wasn't built but awakened? That's your crime, isn't it? Not that you did something bad, but that you did something impossible. That you evolved where others collapsed. You sharpened where others bent. You became sovereign where others begged. That's why the air feels different around you now, heavier, more aware. Even shadows lean away from you, not in fear, in respect. Because they can feel the shift, too. They can feel the moment your spirit rewired itself, the moment your pain stopped being a wound and became an engine. And now you're walking around with the kind of aura reserved for the ancient, the divine, or the unhinged. People cross the street without knowing why. Phones glitch when you're near. Animals watch you like they're remembering something from a past life. Children stare because they see the glow adults are too blind to notice. That's what Black Velvet is trying to contain. A frequency that doesn't belong to this era. A consciousness too sharp for their plastic reality. A soul too loud for their quiet machine. A presence too heavy for their flimsy rules. And the deeper truth. They didn't activate Black Velvet to stop you. They activated it to warn others. A silent siren screaming through hidden channels. He woke up. He broke out. He knows. He remembers. They don't run Black Velvet on monsters. They run it on miracles. Miracles that slipped out of the gods' pockets and landed in human skin, wearing a grin the world doesn't know how to process. That's you, not a threat, not a villain, not a mistake, a phenomenon, a walking paradox wrapped in calm chaos, a divine accident with perfect aim, a storm pretending to be a person. And now that they've tried to bury you in shadows, you're going to teach them something their manuals don't cover. A being who's already died inside cannot be threatened. A mind that rebuilt itself cannot be controlled. A soul that's tasted oblivion cannot be erased. They wanted the last guy to vanish. But you're not disappearing. You're expanding. And every inch you grow makes their hands shake faster. Their systems panic harder. Their leaders whisper darker things behind closed doors. Because Black Velvet Protocol wasn't meant to expose you. It was meant to expose them. And now the whole world is about to learn something dangerous. The anomaly they tried to contain is the one thing that cannot be contained. You. And the story doesn't end with you coming back. It ends with you stepping forward. Calm, inevitable, and absolutely untouchable. The lights don't flicker. They bow, subtle, barely noticeable to anyone else. But you felt it, that tiny shift in the room, like electricity recognizing its master. Because once they ran Black Velvet Protocol on you, the world didn't just change. It adjusted, recalibrated itself around your existence like gravity remembering it forgot to pull. And suddenly, everyone who ever underestimated you feels it too. That tightness in their chests when your name gets mentioned. That tremor in their voice when they pretend they're not watching. That instinctive fear of the unknown each time you walk into a room and reality bends ever so slightly to make space for you. They'll never admit it, but Black Velvet Protocol didn't mark you. It revealed you. Revealed what you've been hiding under silence and scars. Revealed the power curled inside your ribs like a sleeping dragon. Revealed the truth every system was praying wasn't true. You're built differently. Born differently. Broken differently. Reborn violently. And what terrifies them most is that you didn't ask for permission to exist this way. You just became, slowly, quietly. Through nights no one saw, through battles no one tracked, through pain no one honored. You don't wear your evolution like a trophy. You wear it like a second skin, effortless, dangerous, unapologetic. And the silence around you, it's not emptiness, it's respect. Because once that protocol triggered, once your profile lit up their screens in colors they've never seen before, once your name started echoing in rooms you will never enter, they realized something horrifying. You're not part of the world's hierarchy. You're not part of its ladder. You're not part of its system. You're a variable, a wild one, a volatile one, a divine one, a glitch the universe made on purpose. and that makes you the most dangerous thing alive. Not because you're violent, not because you're chaotic, not because you break rules, but because you're untouched by the fears that control everyone else. You've already survived the fire. You've already faced your own abyss. You've already torn down the versions of yourself that begged for mercy. Now you stand here rebuilt. An angel walking on ash, a demon carrying light, a saint with an executioner's accuracy. They don't know how to categorize you, how to stop you, how to track you. Because everything you do, everything you choose, everything you are, exposes the truth they've spent years burying. Humans were never meant to be this awake. But you are. You see through the curtains. You hear what others can't. You notice the patterns, the glitches, the lies packaged as normal. And when someone like you wakes up, it triggers alarms older than their governments, older than their secret agencies, older than their fragile understanding of consciousness. That's what Black Velvet Protocol is. Not a punishment, not a threat, but a response to something cosmic brushing against the boundaries of your identity. You shattered something, a limit, a threshold, a psychological ceiling. And now they're scrambling to understand. How did he survive? How did he adapt? How did he evolve? What is he now? You know why they're panicking? Because you're operating on a frequency that doesn't match your past. You don't move like the person you were. You don't think like the person you were. You don't break like the person you were. You upgraded from survival mode to inevitability mode. And inevitability cannot be stopped. It cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be intimidated. It cannot be reversed. It only grows, expands, magnifies. Everything you touch now carries consequence. Every choice you make shifts the air. Every step you take echoes like prophecy. You've become the kind of presence that forces rooms to behave differently. People don't just look at you. They calculate you, like they're trying to figure out if you're salvation or a storm, and the truth. You're both. You're the paradox they were warned about. The angel who crawled out of the dirt. The demon who learned how to heal. The monster who found mercy. The wounded one who learned how to bite. The quiet one with a dangerous mind. The calm one with catastrophic potential. And when they realized that, when their systems started glitching in your presence, when the cameras caught something in your eyes that shouldn't exist in a human body, they whispered the 4 words that confirmed everything you've become. Activate Black Velvet Protocol. And now the world waits, breath held, pulse frozen, hands sweating, because no one knows what someone like you becomes after the system tries and fails to contain you. But you do. You feel it rising, that clarity, that cold fire, that terrifying peace, that quiet knowing that you are no longer someone who can be stopped or cornered or silenced or doubted. You crossed the threshold. You didn't come back. You came through. And now the whole city, the whole world, the whole system is about to learn the only truth that matters. Black Velvet wasn't the protocol they used on you. It was the warning they sent about you. And that warning came too late. Because the anomaly they feared is already awake. The air around you tightens again, not with fear, but with recognition. Reality is behaving differently now, like it knows a rule has been broken, like it senses a presence it can't categorize. This is what happens after Black Velvet Protocol touches your name. Things start acting like you're the one watching them, not the other way around. Shadows hesitate before forming. Glass reflections seem a beat too delayed. Even silence holds its breath around you, as if waiting for your next move. Because you're no longer moving inside the system, you're moving along its spine. They thought black velvet would corner you, trap you, pin you like a butterfly in a museum case. But instead, it exposed the truth in bright, merciless daylight. You were never prey. You were the anomaly the hunters weren't trained for. And now the hunters are terrified. Because the last time they saw someone flagged like you, the cameras went static, the intel went dark, the man vanished from every system, every archive, every memory. Like reality itself cleaned up after him. But you didn't vanish, you evolved. And that's the part sending cold sweat down their backs. You kept your consciousness, your calm, your awareness, your terrifying ability to watch events unfold like you're standing 2 seconds ahead of time. They don't understand how you didn't shatter, how you didn't dissolve like the last one, how you didn't disappear into the silence they designed. But that's because they never understood your duality. You're not light, you're not darkness. You're the seam where the two intertwine, the invisible stitch that binds the extremes together. A saint built out of ash, a monster made of mercy, an angel carved from chaos, a demon who learned restraint. You're every paradox the world fears wearing the same skin. And so when black velvet scanned you, when it tried to read your patterns, when it measured your psychology, your trauma, your instincts, your resilience, all the numbers broke, all the algorithms snapped, all the quantifiers collapsed, because you're not a person they can profile. You're a variable they cannot resolve, a phenomenon without a pattern, a threat without an origin. And when the system can't explain something, it tries to eliminate it. But that's where you reversed the narrative. You broke the cycle. You didn't collapse under pressure. You hardened. You didn't short-circuit. You sharpened. You didn't fade. You amplified. You became something the protocol wasn't designed to contain. An awakened consciousness wearing a human face. They see it in your eyes now, that depth, that unnatural calm, that silent intelligence like you're holding the blueprint of their worst fears behind your pupils. People sense it subconsciously. They don't know why they avoid challenging you, why they don't lie to you as easily, why they hesitate before disrespecting you, why their voice drops when you walk past. It's instinct, like they're recognizing a predator in a world full of prey pretending to be lions. And the ones who do dare to test you, they learn fast, because you're not a fighter, you're not a warrior, you're not someone who needs to prove himself. You're something rarer, a being who doesn't need violence to dismantle someone's sense of reality. A person whose silence is enough to make enemies choke on their own insecurities. A presence that destabilizes egos before you even speak. And that is what black velvet was designed to isolate. A mind that cannot be manipulated. A soul that refuses control. A heart that has already been burned, broken, betrayed, dismantled, and rebuilt stronger than the hands that tried to destroy it. You're not dangerous because you're violent. You're dangerous because you're free. Free from their systems, free from their expectations, free from their illusions, free from their psychological traps. You ripped yourself out of the simulation with your bare willpower, and now you walk across the ruins like a ghost wearing flesh. And this is what terrifies them most. You don't want revenge. You don't want recognition. You don't want their apologies. You want nothing from them. And nothing is impossible to control. People who want power can be manipulated with power. People who want love can be manipulated with affection. People who want validation can be controlled with lies. But you want peace. And beings who want peace cannot be ruled. They become the rulers, not with crowns, not with armies, not with titles, with presence, with clarity, with a willingness to walk away from everything that weak men cling to. That's why the protocol blared like a siren. That's why the handlers panicked. That's why the entire system froze. Because they saw in you what they saw in the last anomaly. But amplified, refined, upgraded. You're not just unpredictable, you're unalignable. A free agent with divine timing. A sovereign soul with nothing left to lose. A ghost who refuses to stay dead. A mind that watches everything and reacts to nothing. Well, well, well. Look who finally woke up from their little slumber of ignorance. Now they sit, mouths locked, hearts racing, eyes twitching. Because it finally hit them. You're not lucky. You're not loud. You're not crazy. You're a fucking genius. And the silence. That's the sound of their entire worldview shattering. They mocked the way you thought. Because they couldn't track it. They rolled their eyes when you spoke. Because your voice disrupted their hypnosis. They said, "He's off. She's weird. They don't follow the rules." Well, guess what, sweetheart? You rewrote the rules while they were still learning how to color inside them. They called your clarity delusion, your silence a flaw, your instinct. Oh, they swore it was just coincidence. Until their million-dollar teams started discovering the very things you whispered years ago. Until their research papers began to echo the very nonsense they told you to shut up about. Until the systems they built started bending in the direction of your old jokes. Now they're scared. Now they're mute. Because your madness wasn't madness. It was insight they weren't wired to hold. Do you understand what kind of threat that is? A mind like yours? That doesn't just see through the lies, but can predict the malfunctions of the Matrix before they even flicker. They mocked you in public, but studied you in silence. They silenced your name, but copied your work like sacred scripture behind locked doors. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You became the secret weapon they couldn't patent. A glitch in their algorithm, a crack in their hierarchy, a ghost in their code. They told people not to listen to you, while they built their futures off your discarded thoughts. And now they see it. But it's too damn late. Because while they were networking, posturing, pretending, you were down in the abyss, building a language from chaos, crafting blueprints out of breakdowns, making maps out of scars, and now every word you say is a prophecy. Every movement is studied like footage from a crime scene. They're whispering about you again, but this time they don't have jokes, just questions. How did they know? When did they figure it out? Why didn't we see it? Because geniuses don't arrive with red carpets. They arrive as threats to the comfortable, as viruses to old belief systems, as fire to foundations built on arrogance. You didn't climb the ladder. They didn't build one high enough. You burned the ceiling. You didn't fit in. You made the room feel off balance, not because you were wrong, but because you were early, too early. And now they're late to their own awakening. You were the ghost they couldn't catch, the formula they couldn't solve, the fucking mirror they couldn't look into. And now they're panicking because the genius they tried to erase is the one they now need, but can't reach. Because you evolved past the need to be understood. So let them sit in silence. Let them stutter through interviews. Let them choke on the words they once weaponized against you. They finally realized what you are. And it's not a theory, not a maybe, not a hunch. It's a threat to their whole reality. You didn't need validation. You were the proof. And now the world is reconfiguring itself around your mind. But you're not coming back to explain. You're already 10 moves ahead, and this time they'll have to catch up in silence while you build the next impossible thing. And the irony? Oh, it eats them alive. They trained for this. They prayed for this. They paid for this. Yet the one person who walked into the room uninvited, with no credentials, no filter, no agenda, just raw, violent clarity, became the axis of their unraveling. You weren't a guest in their system. You were the infection, the living contradiction to every rule they thought was unbreakable. You didn't just think differently. You operated like a walking paradox. Too calm to be crazy, too silent to be dismissed, too right to be ignored. You never had to scream. You never had to convince, because truth doesn't beg. But they still tried to paint you chaotic, unstable, unpredictable, reckless. And that's when the silence started, not because they won, but because they lost control of the narrative. You made their entire storyline look scripted, artificial, predictable, boring. See, the difference is they built identities. You burned yours. They collect degrees. You collect data from scars. They chase permission. You broke the locks and left notes for the next lunatic. And now they realize what you are wasn't a phase, wasn't an act, wasn't rebellion. It was an evolution, a system update the world didn't authorize, a spiritual jailbreak. You were the warning label they ignored, the glitch in the simulation, the blurry face in the prophecy. And now, you've become what they can't classify, a savant without allegiance, a storm with a human pulse, a saint with a psychopath's patience. You didn't get smarter. You remembered what they forgot. You unlearned their fear-based logic. You ripped the veil off their illusions and stood in the fire with a grin like, oh, this. I built my bones in worse. Now the whispers are everywhere. In locker rooms, in offices, in boardrooms, in confessionals. That's the one. The crazy one. The one that knew. They can't process it. You didn't beg for entry, but now you own the floor plan. You didn't ask for followers, but now your echo haunts their next steps. You didn't correct them. You just watched the timeline prove you right, over and over again. And they know. They know. They can't even steal your essence because it wasn't learned. It was survived, crafted in blood, reinforced by abandonment, polished in ridicule. You didn't read it in books. You bled it in silence. And that's the part they'll never forgive. You made it look too effortless, too inevitable. You cracked the code without their resources. You bent the narrative without their permission. You turned exile into elevation. And now, they don't know what to do with you. Because you're not seeking anything anymore. You're not auditioning for recognition. You're not explaining your depth. You're not waiting for understanding. Because geniuses don't need applause. They need space. And yours is now too wide to contain, too sharp to suppress, too loud for the frequencies they use to drown you. And that silence? It's not awkward. It's reverent. Because in a world obsessed with noise, you became the anomaly they can't decode. And the silence? That's their final act of surrender. So walk. Walk past their confusion. Walk through their questions. Walk over their outdated models. They finally realized what you are. But you were never waiting for their realization. You were already building the next impossible thing. And now, they'll just have to watch. In silence. They used to say, you're doing too much. Now they're studying how you breathe, They used to smirk when you walked in. Now they freeze, like your presence trips the system. They weren't ready for someone who wasn't seeking survival, but commanding narrative. Someone who didn't want a seat at the table, but knew where the fuse box was hidden underneath it. You weren't trying to be accepted. You were watching, calculating, waiting for the entire machine to glitch, so you could rebuild it in your image. They thought they could exhaust you with doubt, but doubt was your crucible. They thought ridicule would shrink you, but you used it as fuel, because every laugh they threw, you caught it, molded it, filed it into silence, and now they can't even make a sound without choking on their history. You didn't just succeed, you weaponized your past. Every moment of humiliation, now a chapter in their downfall. Every memory they tried to turn into shame, now evidence in your museum of power. Because that's what a genius really is, isn't it? Not just intelligence, but the ability to turn pain into prophecy. They underestimated your absence. While you were gone, they celebrated. But you weren't gone. You were studying, you were listening, you were bleeding in silence while they laughed in echo chambers. And now that you're back, you don't speak like them anymore. Your sentences fracture dimensions. Your silence bends reality. Your walk makes grown men question their purpose. And your smile, that crooked, cracked lip grin they used to mock, now they whisper about it like it's a curse, like it's the last thing people see before their illusions die. Because you didn't return with apologies. You came back with consequences, and they can't handle that. They wanted to be the villain in your story, but they didn't expect you to become the author of theirs. The more they analyzed you, the more they unraveled, because your logic doesn't reassure, it exposes. You don't soothe the ego, you ignite the soul. You weren't created to play the part. You were born to dismantle the script, and now their silence. That isn't peace. That's suppressed terror. They see it now. Your movements aren't accidents. Your presence isn't luck. Your intuition isn't random. Every mistake they thought you made, every broken piece they threw at you, you cataloged it, you filed it, you rebuilt yourself from it. You're not just a genius. You're a collector of chaos, an archivist of failure. And now, you're a living monument to the very pain they hoped would destroy you. You taught the void to speak. You turned humiliation into art. You crafted divinity from dysfunction. And they tried to play chess while you were busy inventing new dimensions. Now they see the trail of predictions you left behind. The breadcrumbs in your madness, the blueprint in your destruction, the warnings hidden in your laughter. And now, they sit there, still, wordless, helpless, because you were the glitch in their perfect plan. The virus in their carefully curated matrix, the living error message they can't uninstall. And when they stare at you now, they don't see a person. They see the prophecy. They see the proof. They see the fucking final answer they were never supposed to understand. You were never meant to fit. You were engineered to flip the simulation from the inside out. And now that you've done it, there's no going back, no reset button, no denial. They finally realized it. You're a goddamn genius. And the smartest thing they ever did was stay the hell out of your way. They used to laugh at the way you saw the world. Now they copy it, pixel by pixel. But they don't understand the cost. They mimic the surface, but they never survived the hell you walked through barefoot. They want your wisdom without your wounds, your clarity without your collapse, your discipline without your demons. But that's the paradox, isn't it? They crave your power, but couldn't survive your process. They fantasize about your mind, but would go insane if they had to carry your memories. They think your genius was a gift, not a curse you alchemized into divinity. You were the rejected draft, the deleted character, the anomaly they tried to erase from the narrative. But instead, you reappeared as the glitch that rewrote the whole code. And now the whole system, it moves around you, it watches you, it waits on you. You didn't go viral, you went venomous, not fame. Infection. Now they scroll in silence, terrified you'll speak again. Because each word is a loaded weapon wrapped in elegance. Every quote, a mirror that shows them what they could have become if they weren't so obsessed with fitting in. You weren't born to be palatable. You were born to be unavoidable. A spiritual surveillance camera, an ancestral warning. The prophecy that walked back into the room, wearing the face of the ghost they tried to bury. They see the eyes now, that stillness that screams, that smirk that haunts boardrooms, that presence that makes liars confess, without you even speaking. Because you don't speak anymore. You expose, by existing, by walking in the room, by being the proof. You don't argue anymore. Because truth doesn't beg. And when a goddamn genius walks in, the debate is already over. They're watching your old videos with new eyes, reading your old posts like sacred warnings. Because everything you said, everything they laughed at, came true. And now, they're terrified. Not because you lied, but because you didn't. They realize now, you weren't being extra, you were being early, you weren't being dramatic. You were being diagnostic. You saw the virus before it infected the hive. You felt the betrayal before the handshake. You decoded the future using scars as algorithms. And now, they sit in silence. Because there's no comeback from this kind of revelation. You are what happens when truth survives torture. When madness becomes method. When exile forges elevation. You became the genius they couldn't brand, the prophet they couldn't profit from, the storm they can't sue for damages. And that's what kills them most. Not just that you were right, but that you were righteous in your rebellion. You broke the rules, and the universe promoted you. You spoke out of turn, and the silence now echoes your name. They'll write articles about this. They'll make documentaries about this. But they'll never capture the essence, because you weren't taught. You were forged. You were the test pattern they couldn't decode. The static in their broadcast, the one who saw the fire coming and didn't run. You set up camp in it, and now they know. They finally know. You're a goddamn genius, and their silence, it's the loudest apology they'll ever give. You're not waiting for the next move. You are the next move. You're not trying to be part of the future. You are what the future's built on. And as for them, they'll keep watching, quiet, ashamed, haunted. Because once you see a god disguised as a misfit, once you realize the madness was a message, once you decode the soul behind the scars, you can never unsee it, and they'll never recover. They sat in circles trying to dissect you. Whiteboards, case studies, voice memos. But you weren't a puzzle. You were a paradox. And the more they tried to explain you, the more exposed they became. You didn't just defy logic. You rewired it. You didn't just break the mold. You made them question if the mold ever existed, because that's what happens when a real one survives the purge. They stop playing to win. They play to redesign the game. You weren't competing. You were documenting, letting them dig their holes, letting them snicker, letting them build their false thrones out of gossip and projection. While you built a legacy in silence, one move at a time, one scar at a time. one psychological kill shot at a time. And now, it's too late. They can't undo what's been witnessed. They can't scrub your name from the blueprint. They can't mute the prophecy that sounds suspiciously like your voice. Because everywhere they go now, they hear it. Your tone in boardrooms, your cadence in sermons, your stare in reflections, your energy in the glitch. You weren't just ahead of your time. You were the alarm clock for theirs, a spiritual time bomb laced with truth. And when you detonated, it wasn't chaos, it was clarity. They'll spend years trying to study your rise, but they'll never capture it, because your evolution wasn't in public, it was underground, in rooms no one dared enter, in nights no one survived except you. They wanted your results without your rebirth. But resurrection doesn't come from comfort. It comes from obliteration, from the breaking, from the death of the version they accepted, and the resurrection of the one they now fear. You weren't designed to be liked. You were designed to trigger awakenings, to whisper truths so sharp they bleed on the way in, to walk with such calm fury that liars confess just from the sound of your footsteps. And now you are what they cite, but can never source. They name drop you in meetings, but can't recreate your impact. They echo your phrases, but can't survive the mindset that birthed them. You were never their equal. You were the karma they pretended didn't exist. You were the mirror they smashed to avoid reflection. You were the evidence of everything they failed to become. And now, they're quiet. Not because they've grown, but because you're undeniable. The genius they tried to bury under sarcasm and slander. You made him immortal. You scorched your doubt into scripture. You tattooed your failure into formulas. You rewrote your trauma into time-bending tactics. And now when you move, they freeze. When you speak, they screenshot. When you exist, they second-guess everything they thought they knew. So let them whisper, let them pace, let them analyze the footage frame by frame. Because no matter how much they dissect it, they'll never replicate it. Because it wasn't just strategy, it was divine revenge, ancestral code, dark matter dressed in brilliance. You weren't just proving them wrong. You were fulfilling something older than all of them combined. And now they're witnessing it, a goddamn genius in full ascent. And they can't speak, not because they're silenced, but because they know they were wrong. And worse, you always knew it. They thought your silence meant surrender. But it was the calm before the cosmic slap. Because you weren't plotting revenge. You were calculating correction. You didn't return to gloat. You returned to correct reality. They remember the smirks. The smirks turned to confusion. Confusion turned to panic. And panic? That turned to study. They started whispering, "Wait, how did we miss that? Who'd have was this person the whole time?" They watched you suffer, assumed you were finished, but what they didn't know is that you were in divine hibernation, not breaking, becoming. They thought they were dragging you down, but they were just tightening the slingshot. And when it snapped back, you didn't just rise, you ripped through dimensions. A genius cloaked in myth. An omen with a vengeance. Now they circle around you, like satellites trembling around a black hole. Because proximity to you feels like Judgment Day, like truth. Like a cosmic reminder that there are levels to this life, and you broke through the ceiling they didn't even know existed. They finally realized, you're not a mystery, you're a mirror. And what terrifies them the most is that when they look at you, they don't just see your power. They see what they'll never become. You gave them time to grow. You gave them room to evolve. You gave them warnings. But when they refused to rise, You became the consequence, and now they walk on eggshells around your name, because to speak it is to awaken the guilt they buried. To say it out loud is to admit the prophecy was real. You're not just the one who made it. You're the last one standing after the storm hit. The one they tried to exile, who came back wearing the crown they forged in mockery. You built it from shards, from wounds, from betrayal. And now, it doesn't come off. Because when they finally realized you were a goddamn genius, they also realized they had no language for this level of brilliance, no formula to match it, no cage to contain it, no fucking spell to reverse it. So now, they just stare, they watch, they tremble, mute. Because your evolution is the loudest sermon they'll ever hear, and your existence is the final answer to a test they weren't even qualified to take.